What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hadfield. Joining me this week is Justin Davis, Scoop. Tina Amini,
Scoop,
and Sam Claiborne.
Hi.
And what's he doing here?
What are you doing here? Get out of here. We're already gone.
I'm out. Have a good podcast. It could be the last one in this area. So.
CJ says
better than I could possibly imagine.
CJ says this will be our last podcast in this room. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. The new studio spaces are being built right now. They're coming along really well.
They look so great.
Can we talk about
Oh, God, they look great.
You can talk about them, yeah. But
I mean, you're not our boss, so.
Yep, that's true. I can't stop you from doing it.
There's a bar set, and it's really cool, and it's going to have actual beer.
Actual
and
beer.
some pinball machines?
Yeah,
An
a single
arcade
pinball machine, arcade machine.
Actual pinball machines.
Well,
Just
that's
the
actually
one.
a point of controversy because Pear keeps on telling us, can't you guys just get a fake pinball machine that looks like a pinball machine and put it in the background?
He said that to you,
Yeah,
Sam?
Sam was like, I could not help myself from trying to fix this pinball.
Also,
Yeah, or he was saying maybe just get a broken one, and just as long as it looks nice.
Well,
And I
he
was
knows
like,
you're just never going to do your job anymore. You'll be in there the whole time.
carefully fix it over the years and just replace every part and make it perfect.
the cost
kinda
of
want-
getting a fake pinball machine that lights up and has a back glass and all
Yeah,
that
you
stuff
might as well just get
is
one.
equal
Yeah.
to the cost of a pinball machine. Medieval Madness is pretty cheap, man.
Well, it's 65.
But then we could say we have a fake pinball machine, and that's cool for some reason.
It is, and we could keep more beer in it.
That's true. It's just a cooler.
It's
You
actually
lift it up.
a cooler.
It's a cooler.
Well, don't ruin any pinball machines. don't do that.
Or else Sam will appear.
There's like a arcade machine that always used to appear on Craigslist, which people are trying to sell in the Seattle area. That's how much I look at these things. And it was a Star Wars beautiful like arcade cabinet, and it had been made into a chair. It just had like a stupid booth in it.
Aw.
And it was like always like, wow, what a good deal for the Star Wars cabinet, because you could just see it from the side. But somebody just totally ruined a Star Wars game. Makes me sad.
That's very sad. Well, we have a great show for you this week. We are going to talk about an old pinball table that could use maybe Sam's help. We'll see. We're going to talk about what is the required canon of gaming, the games you are required to play. But first, let's begin with Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night.
I feel like I'm crowding you a little.
It's out now on all
You feel
platforms.
okay?
I feel okay.
We're framed up nicely.
I think you should bring it in a little bit closer.
I think this is going to be a must-watch episode. Let me just point that out right now.
I think they're all must-watch
Did you
episodes.
just pat your lap?
Yeah. What was must-see TV? What was that? Was that like
that was Thursday night on.
Thursday? I feel like GameScoop is that.
Did I make that up?
But for podcasts.
No, am I thinking of TGIF?
I don't know. There was also a TGIF, but there's also a must-see TV. Anyway,
It was Fox.
Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, out now on all platforms. Hopefully you've checked out my review by now. I loved it. Gave it an 8.8. I think they succeeded entirely in their goal of creating a spiritual successor to Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I know Sam's been playing a bunch of it. Anybody else playing it yet?
Not yet.
Same.
But
I was
playing
gonna-
on it? Interested?
Well, yeah, I'm going on a trip, and I was going to get it on Switch.
Well, yeah, that's the bummer. That's
Yeah.
one bummer about
Therein
it.
lies the issue.
Yeah.
And so now my plans have changed. I'll probably just wait and play it on Steam when I get back.
Yeah.
Have you played the Switch version at all?
I played a little bit yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have the same take as
Yeah,
the world?
I think it's a really bad, the worst looking version of that game. Not unplayable. It's just the ugliest.
So just a visual issue, not an
Yeah.
actual gameplay
Yeah.
issue.
There is
Because people were
Not
talking
that
about.
I've experienced, but
There's
the
stuttering
short time
between
I spent with it.
rooms, and I played the Switch version a little in the office, and I was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, but maybe we should talk about the really
what
good
was
version.
the thing
Yeah.
that
Well, people were complaining about reaction times, loading screens, which is obviously a big issue these
Yeah,
days,
but
especially with
even-
next gen bragging about there being no loading screen.
well, if the reaction times would be a big deal if that was an
Yeah.
issue with this game, because it's basically
that
a
would
fighting
make it
game for
unplayable.
parts.
Yeah.
It's like really twitchy.
But even on PlayStation 4 and my PlayStation 4 Pro, there would be little hiccups where even hitting the start button to go to the menu would take a second to actually get to the menu.
And that's what we just
a lot
did a
of precious
comparison
time.
video, and
Yeah.
we were just watching it, and the PC version, I mean, it also stuttered. It had screen tearing in it, and it didn't look like that much different than the Switch version.
It either looked as good as the Switch version or occasionally worse, which is weird. So
Because
it
of the
didn't.
tearing.
Yeah, it didn't line up with the comments that we're seeing online. But obviously, that does not discredit anything that anyone has said. It's just when we recorded
Yeah,
it, it came out kind of.
Well, we'll continue to look
par.
into it. I mean, the game is I'm playing like crazy. I think it's so fun.
on Xbox.
Yeah, on Xbox, which is like the most powerful way to play it besides against PC.
Yeah.
It doesn't even need like super problems or anything. But man, like it's really funny to see it on Switch, because all the take that was kind of going around the office is that it looks like a PlayStation game on Switch. Like, is that a bad thing? Like, if it looked like an NES game, we'd all be loving it.
Yes.
You like that take?
But like,
Well,
no,
there's like intentional
No.
retro and just not up to
Yeah.
modern standards.
like, I think
What if that
Is
becomes
it?
hip? Just blur your game.
Yeah.
because I think it looks worse than Symphony of the Night on Switch.
Yeah.
Worse.
Yeah, because I revisited Symphony of the Night to compare it to Ritual.
What about Symphony of the Night through dirty glasses?
Symphony looks great because it's pixel art.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is true that this is not pixel art.
That's right.
But you can see the pixely edges of things on the Switch because the resolution's so low.
Well, yeah.
That's by design.
Yeah, there you go.
It's
a
art.
choice.
It's retro.
There was reason to be a little bit concerned about this game. It was delayed by like 2 years.
Yeah.
It was crowdfunded, Kickstarter game. They changed the art style at the last minute before release, and then they didn't give us review copies before it was out. So I was a little bit like, but it's great. At least
Yeah, if you don't know about this,
it's amazing.
there's an implication to critics that when a game comes in hot, when you get it like at the last minute without like a long, time to play it, like there's a problem with it. Where do you think that comes from?
It's more of a not so much superstitious thing. It's just a precedent thing where in the past, there's a pattern for games that we haven't had as much time to review tended to go on. It's like the trailer theory where the longer a movie trailer is, the worse the movie is.
I've never heard that.
You haven't heard that one?
No, that's really
because they
funny.
reveal more of the film because they're not as confident in it.
I mean, it's not
Or the whole film.
They
Basically.
want the
Yeah.
thing to come out and go on sale before critics have had a chance to
That's
weigh in on
exactly
whether
it.
it's
yeah,
It's
before
just like
we
when
get
they
a chance to
don't
score it.
gonna screen a movie.
when they don't screen a movie for critics
Yeah.
beforehand. Yeah.
So yeah, and I've actually seen some misunderstanding of that online, where there's a perception that critics are complaining, like
Oh, yeah.
they're just upset and like butthurt that
It's
they
not
didn't get
about
to play it
that.
in advance, and it's like
No,
like,
it's just a little flag.
yeah, like it doesn't mean anything. Actually,
just-
Bloodstained proves it.
Yep.
But sometimes
Yeah, it's hit or miss theory.
to control the narrative, sometimes they might
Yeah.
want to withhold copies from critics.
The whole point of the review is to allow the consumer to make an informed purchase decision, and if they can't do that when the game is out, then we're not, providing the service that we're striving to provide. So that's the whole reason.
And that does put like a little bit of negative light on a publisher that's giving us a game late, like that they're trying to intentionally stop critics from telling you this thing sucks.
Yeah, that's true. But also, maybe it's a different case with a Kickstarter funded game because most of their audience have already bought the game.
So Kickstarter makes it a little bit complicated, and increasingly, like in the year 2019, games just come in so hot that sometimes publishers, even if maybe it's not them trying to control the narrative, they just know like there's a patch happening right when that game launches, and there's not as much window to get.
Yeah, day one patches are so common now, and they're always freaked out about like this is a bug. And we've seen a bug before. We know how to kind of maneuver
Did you
around those
ever
narratives.
review stuff when it was like in print,
What do you mean in
like
print, for
for
magazines?
print magazines?
Not a review. I mean, I've worked in print, but no, I haven't done a review.
Because like
for
they
it.
used to, I haven't either, but like they used to get games.
They would
like,
get it.
months
Yeah.
earlier.
Well, you used to get it on like a burned disc, and you would have a
Yeah.
debug that could run that disk, and very different
for the
times.
purpose of review, though.
Yes,
it's like
exactly.
A whole, like,
Yeah, and you can get it almost a month in advance. But day one patches were not a thing back then.
Yeah, that's true. Sam, do you agree that they nailed the Igavania?
Yeah, absolutely.
feel.
It feels it's so good to have a Castlevania game to play. Why isn't like a lot of people have been making like cool Metroid-like games recently, and they're like really fun. But like this one is like a Castlevania game, and I just missed it, and I'm really happy it's back. They didn't use a whip the entire game though.
No, it has whips, but I never used a whip.
You just use a sword, right?
Use a sword. So.
Why? I don't know
Pizza
what it
sword?
is.
Yeah.
It's really fast. What'd you say?
Pizza sword.
Oh yeah, the pizza sword is unconfirmed.
Yeah.
Tina had a picture of a pizza sword.
The
and
internet showed me a
Bloodstained,
picture. Yeah.
and it looked really great, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I should consult
Cause
the
for
guys
doubt.
team.
Yeah.
It's believable though because there's lots of weird stuff in the game.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's what I keep on showing. Like, oh man, there's such good enemies in the game, and they feel terrible to kill sometimes. There's a big like I don't even know what kind of dog it is, like a Scotty. No, it's not even.
And there's that weird cat.
There's a giant cat.
And then
with
there's a cat
devil
with, like,
horns.
with devil horns, but the cat looks so cute when you first get in the room. Like it's the full size of the room. Like you're just a tiny person next to it, and you walk in, the cat's just sitting there. With doing the little cat sphinx pose, and it's so nice. And then like you get close to it, and it like side eyes you and it swipes, and it's like the best animation. It's exactly what cats do. At that point, it's you have to make your decision: are you going to kill this cat or not?
Yeah.
It's not much of a choice.
I hope that soundbite doesn't get taken out of this episode and used against me at some point.
You gonna kill that cat or not?
At some point, you got to fill out if you're free to kill that cat or not.
Well, they
Justin.
do say that when cats are bigger than you, they would kill you. So
Right.
seems
100% yes.
grounds
we
for
would be
killing.
eaten.
But
I feel like a cat just
Eaten.
needs to be half
Or
my
weird.
size to try to eat me.
Yeah.
but you've seen videos of lions cuddling with people. So.
I know. It's so scary when they like
Yeah.
reach to the fence and like press. What about when cats like clearly want to kill something that's like basically their size? Like cats will kill rabbits and rabbits are big.
Yeah.
Like so
Depends if they run away from them or not.
Yeah,
That's true, right?
I said that creepily, but like it's true.
I hope that soundbite doesn't get taken out of this episode. And
Many good sound bites in this episode.
Justin, what the heck happened to the fan?
Oh, we turned it off.
Oh, yeah.
Why did we turn it off?
It
You
was
were consulted
Oh my
almost.
gosh.
It was very cold.
Oh my gosh.
would you like me to turn on?
Yeah,
the
I can
fan?
turn it on.
I'm feeling a little warm, but if I'm the only one,
We're stuck in the
then
middle.
don't worry
So
about
here's the deal. This room is normally 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And so they put a fan in here, and then we turned the fan on, and we were actually a little chilly. And so we just
Don't
can't.
if I'm the only one, don't worry about just little old me. I'll tough it out.
How about this? How about we just leave it on for a little bit?
Okay, that's fine. See, I already feel that. That's
Here's
already
the
great.
compromise. We'll turn on the fan, but we'll turn it up to 90 degrees.
It's just blowing hot air in our face.
Yeah, it feels great.
Yeah, it actually feels great.
I put it
Anyway,
on the lowest setting.
Bloodstained is out. I think it's great. It's fantastic. I really hope lots of people get a chance to play it, and
Great
I hope they patch up the Switch version too.
I've heard people say it's harder than any other Castlevania game.
See, Sam mentioned it thinks it's
Yeah,
difficult. I don't think
I said that.
I
Damon
don't-
was like, I didn't have any problems, but I walked past
not
this
what I
room
said.
over
That's
and
not
over
what I
again,
said.
and he was playing the same boss all day long.
I said I
Well,
don't
bosses are a
think-
whole other scenario.
The final boss is hard as heck, but I don't think the overall game is particularly challenging.
So here's why, and he said this in his review, that Damon found like the perfect combination of the shard upgrades to just like kill everything really easily. And you wrote about it in your review, and I got all those.
Good.
So there's this thing that like surrounds you. It sounds stupid, but it surrounds you with paintings,
Like portraits of people.
and they're just like
those are the
flying around
Kickstarter
you.
backers, right?
That's my
We're not
theory, but I haven't
sure.
I haven't
Oh, that's a
confirmed
theory.
that. But
Yeah.
that would make sense.
One's a cat.
I know.
Which
Maybe
And I
the
think
cat
it's
was
great.
the Kickstarter.
I think
Yeah,
it's great that they allow cats
could
to
happen.
back Kickstarter projects.
I do too. And I just feel like cats should be allowed to do more monetary.
Donate.
I think
yeah,
they
less cat
should
hate
be allowed to do anything.
2019. Well,
As long as they're smaller than us.
that's true. And not a floating head as a
Yeah.
boss. And
What were we
But
talking
so-
about? Oh no,
so yeah,
you have this
you
great
start.
shard combination. He just kind of like wrote about it, and then I got that, and then it was just like now I think it's really easy.
You gotta.
I think I screwed up my game.
Yeah.
The one-handed
Symphony of the
swords-
Night was like that too. Though,
Yeah.
like if you got certain weapons, you just like run through the rest of the game with it. Like,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So
the
the-
shield that did damage whenever you touched
still like it.
anything.
The one-handed swords aren't the most powerful weapons, but they do the highest damage for the speed. So get the most powerful one-handed sword you can. Get the portrait. I think it's called Welcome Party, the portrait shield, and then get a ranged attack like the true arrow. You'll get more powerful ones later on, and then get a familiar. Like the fairy familiar.
You like the
who
fairy one, which
Shield,
took me a long
she
time to
points
get.
out walls you can break. So,
Yeah.
and then you can just sort of roll around the castle, taking people out pretty well.
That was some good game help, Damon. I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
He's never
you
written a
guys-
strategy guide.
Are you guys hiring on your team?
No.
I'm gonna switch gears in my IGN career.
Have you
Start doing
ever
game
contributed? Have you ever written like a full strategy guide? Start to
Never.
finish? You haven't?
I've never done it.
Have you guys?
I gave you Harry Potter tips. That's the best I can do.
Yeah. There was a lot of those too.
There were a lot of
I've contributed little tips, but I never wrote a game guide. The technical writing is a very different skill that I don't
yeah.
actually feel I'm super equipped.
So condescending.
It's the opposite.
No,
of
it is the
condescending.
opposite. Yeah.
What does condescending mean?
You have to be detail oriented, and you have to have good memory. I feel
Technical
or good
writing's
note taking.
different than creative writing. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
I don't think I'd be good at it. I miss stuff that is obvious to me, but then I don't include in like the you have to do like step following. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard.
I'm not good at remembering like this chest is called something different from this other chest, and this hallway is apparently also a specifically named thing. And I'm just like, go down the hallway,
Those
and make
name
a
things
right.
actually that comes up more like that's exactly right. When you're writing guides, it's like you always have to refer to your like terms list. It's so silly. It's like they have like a treasure chest is usually not called that in a game. It's called like an adventure crate or something. And you have to use
crate.
that over and over again. It's really
Did you
funny.
just make that up, or is that from a game?
No, I made that up.
That's nice.
But that's what I call them.
I'm sure there's a mobile game called Adventure Crate. It's great. Free
Yeah.
to play. We mentioned Harry Potter. Tina, you have been playing that.
Yeah, I've been
What's the
playing
full
a lot
title
of
of
it.
that game? This is
Harry
the mobile
Potter Wizards Unite.
Okay.
And people go by Wizards Unite or Harry Potter Woo
game. Ooh.
if you're writing online.
HP Woo in a couple years,
HP Woo.
Ooh.
Depends on if it hangs around.
And then you.
which it doesn't seem like it's going to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
So it's not a Pokemon Go.
It's a weird game.
yeah, it's the combat is a lot deeper than I expected it to be. So, and I haven't done too many fortresses. I did one by myself, and that did not go well. And this was like very early on in the game. I was like, "What's a fortress?" And I was just in exploratory mode. But I feel like once that part of it comes around to my experience, it'll feel like a pretty robust combat experience.
Have you done
Permadeath?
any of the port keys yet?
Yeah, but I haven't maxed them out yet.
cool.
You've maxed yours out? I'm still walking, man.
Dude, I
Still
don't.
out here walking.
I've played
Still
the game.
rowing.
I've played the game quite a bit. I am sort of so on it overall, but that feature is crazy cool. It's the best use of AR.
It like launches you into a new area
you hold up your phone, and when the port key is like done, that's the equivalent of eggs from Pokemon Go. So you have to walk like 5 kilometers or whatever. And then you open the port key. And like in your room or whatever space you are, there's like a boot in front of you. And then you like touch it, and then it opens a portal in front of you, and you have to physically step forward, and then you're in another space. You're
Like
in like a
holding your
Harry
phone in
Potter
front
room
of you?
holding your phone, and then you have to look around.
If this was
I
Pokemon
have
Go,
done the
there'd
one
be like
port key now. I
several
remember.
deaths.
You can like grab. I think I grabbed some of them.
It's a really
from it.
cool use of
Yeah.
AR in like an unexpected, like I just didn't expect it, and it was really neat and actually felt kind of magical and cool in a way that the rest
I
of the
like
game.
seeing Justin do this on his bus. He's like, oh boy.
Well, that's the thing, I feel like
you can't-
giant
you
dork-
can't do that on your bus.
Like I walk between home and work, and I feel like a giant dork when I stop, and then
Yeah.
I'm like using my
Yeah.
phone. People are like, "There's reception everywhere. Calm down." And
Wait till you walk through a fake door and get all excited
yeah,
about it.
I'm
in
just
the
like
street.
leaping in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm a contrarian because I don't like the AR stuff. It feels gimmicky, and
I turned it off.
I feel silly, and
It's mandatory for the
Battery
port keys because
draining.
you step in this,
Yeah.
sort of virtual room, and then you have to use your phone to look around and
To
find
search for
stuff.
the items, yeah.
But I turned it off for everything else.
yeah, same.
What about the beards?
I tried it once, and I no longer am interested in that feature.
I'm interested in the beards. I saw a bunch of people saying like exactly what you guys are saying, that the gameplay is finally like pretty good in this game, and it's just like it's an upgrade from Pokemon Go. But here's another take.
Oh, here we go.
Pokemon Go is so much better than this game, and the hook was so great, and we didn't know how good we had it. In
Oh,
those
man.
janky first
Yeah.
weeks of Pokemon Go, the whole world played like a poorly designed game, but a great game.
You have nostalgia for the summer of 2015?
I do so much. I just saw in our top 100 games of all time, it was like number 100. I was like, yeah.
I favor that game because some of the best news stories came from that
Yeah.
game's existence.
Yeah, I worked with Casey before she worked here full time to write really interesting features about how businesses were using
Yep.
Pokemon Go to, lure in customers.
There were a lot of cemeteries that wanted to
Whoa,
petition
whoa.
to get it banned around because people would just be like there'd be services going on and there'd
Yeah.
be players coming in and interrupting that.
It was, it's in Harry Potter, you're just collecting wizard trash. Like,
It really is.
it's got the same mechanic of like walking around the world and collecting set and trying to complete sets, which like gamers like completing sets of things, so I get it. But it is
Like
like
Animal Crossing.
yeah, it's like nonsensical. You're collecting like, oh, I got a boot, or I collected a wizard, or I collected this, and it makes no sense. Whereas in Pokemon Go, that's such a natural extension.
Explain the sense of collecting monsters and evolving
Well,
them.
it inherently
but that's the
makes
problem, is
sense
that we
for
all
Pokemon.
like it.
Well, but Pokemon,
Like the catch 'em all thing
yeah.
goes hand in hand with
That
Pokemon.
doesn't make sense.
That's part of that franchise's
It does.
DNA, though, in a way that it's not for Harry Potter. Like it feels very shoehorned in. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think like A to Z, Harry Potter is like a better designed, more interesting game. But the collecting mechanic feels so forced into
Yep.
it that it makes no sense.
Like you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, essentially. And I thought maybe there'd be an opportunity for the writing to be a little bit better, since obviously it's a
not.
narrative, but it's not. I skip through all of those now.
and they
I
just
gave it a
throw the main
chance.
characters in whenever, right?
Occasionally, yeah, like Harry Potter will be, he's he's at some status now.
Yeah, he's.
I saw like Weasley Joe. What's that guy's name?
Weasley-
Weasley Joe. The most beloved Harry Potter character.
The Weasleys are a family. That's their
See?
surname.
Is there one named Joe?
No,
It's Ron.
there's Ron Weasley.
Weasley Ron.
It's not Weasley Ron.
Maybe he's saying Weasley, Ron.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Claiborne Sam.
Yes.
Exactly, Claiborne Sam.
Claiborne.
Just like Petty Comma Jared.
Sam, son of Claiborne.
Oh man. Okay.
Stop
so
talking about Harry Potter.
we can. But I just want to point out that what we're still saying that everything makes so much sense in Pokemon Go, but it doesn't. Collecting
does.
monsters makes no sense either.
No, but it's
Why?
part
You
of
have
that
to battle
franchise's
things.
DNA of like.
Yeah.
It's still meaningless.
It's always been part of
catch 'em all.
Pokemon. And
The
what-
gameplay is informed by the lore and the storyline of that
Yeah.
world in a way that makes more natural sense.
So I don't know anything about Harry Potter, but I just presumed it was about
don't?
collecting wizard trash.
Yeah,
No.
it is now.
Only one of the movies was about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's spare Damon.
What was the title?
Anyway,
Moving on rapidly. No questions were asked.
it sounds like Harry Potter Woo is not going to be the phenomenon that Pokemon Go was. But Bloodstained is awesome, and you should check it out.
All right, so we can talk about Harry Potter more next week, though.
Next week.
Okay.
Maybe it blows up.
Let's check in with listeners.
Hey,
Hi.
listeners.
Hi.
Remember, you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like Ricky did.
Hi, Ricky.
Do you think
Look how close I look to Damon when I do this.
there's nothing wrong with it? Thanks for making such a fantastic podcast every week. I have a question I would love each of you to answer. If you could assign any 5 games as required gaming, like required reading, aka literary canon in high school and college, which would they be and why? Don't forget to think about how they all work together to make a complete whole for the gaming student. And this is tough. This is a bigger question than we can actually solve on a segment of a goofy podcast. But
Definitely
I thought it was
not
interesting.
5 either. I actually took a video game course
Whoa.
at NYU, and the teacher had assigned, I think it was 10 to 20 games that he felt like were required reading. I wish I had that list right now.
Yeah.
But I was assigned BioShock, which was great because initially we were going around the room and he was offering like who wants to play, Super Mario World, who wants to play all these like definitive generational games. And when it came around to E.T., no one raised their hand and everyone's trying to hide behind their textbooks. And of course I got landed on.
What? You had to play E.T.?
No, I screamed out, no! And I said I really wanted BioShock because I was waiting for him to get down the line to BioShock. And his take was a little bit antiquated maybe now, but he said, oh, well, I'd be really curious to hear a woman's take about BioShock. And I was like, I just want to play BioShock again. I just want the excuse to.
Have
You had
played-
already played it, yeah.
Have you played
Yeah.
ET since then?
I have not touched E.T. ever and do not have plans on playing.
I wouldn't
you can't
include
even at this point.
E.T. Like E.T.'s an interesting footnote in gaming history. I wouldn't include it in the canon of required gaming, though.
Yeah, it's
such
it
like
depends on your take.
It's a famously bad game.
Yeah.
But I think that's what the
But that's what,
interesting
yeah,
is.
exactly.
Is the
Because it's
rumor
famous.
required film?
I mean, but like, is there in literature? Is there a famously bad book you're supposed to read?
Yeah.
If it made as wide an impact, maybe as E.T. did.
I agree.
I
with
think that
That's-
happens.
that's
Like
part of
Stephen
the-
King is sometimes taught for that reason.
But it's also the idea that it almost killed video games. It's not just that, like, oh, it's so bad that it's notable. It's the impact that it had on the industry in the 80s.
I don't think you really need to play it to understand and appreciate that, though.
Sure.
Well, you definitely would want to be aware of bad movies if you're in movie criticism courses or something like that. I think that's really interesting, actually. I mean, we should all know how to critique things that are bad because it's so much more fun.
That's true. In literature, aren't there different canons for different like ages? There's not just like an overall. Here's the 5 books of all time that are considered.
Oh, yeah, because and also by culture, right?
Yeah.
Like you could have a Japanese literature class or an English literature class.
That's why it's
American
hard,
literature is like what my degree was in. It was like really contemporary stuff because there wasn't American literature.
Yeah.
One of the very
But
last...
it started with like Spanish conquistador stuff, because I was in the Americas. It's cool.
One of the last features that I ran when that was my desk at IGN before I moved on to different stuff was an adventure game, canon. I think I worked with, was it Richard Cobbett? I hope I didn't just name drop the wrong freelancer. But I worked with, you can find it on IGN, like look up essential adventure games. And that we did exactly that. Like,
Myst.
here are the ones that you have to play, and we sorted them.
That's
into
the bad one you have to play just to
Yep.
understand the good ones.
Well, we sorted them into categories of, Myst are these like graphical adventures that don't have a lot of storyline, just puzzles, and then at the extreme other end of the spectrum are more games like, Walking Dead that are like all story. And then we gave people like extra credit where like, if you like this style of game, here's like 8 or 10 more for you to play. And the intention was to do that for more game genres like, platformers or shooters. And we never did, but that would be a fun project to pick back up.
Yeah, I feel like inherently you have to pick a modern, like you have to think, the way I thought about it for this question is thinking about the genres of games and then thinking about a modern counterpart to something that was more traditional and then how things have changed in between then. So like for shooters, for me personally, I might think about, well, they're kind of somewhat similar timelines, but like for my own personal history, it'd be like GoldenEye and Counter-Strike and maybe like a Halo 2 or something to kind of leap across different advances.
I'm looking up the freelancer now. That's why I'm on my phone.
Is it important enough do you go back to like Wolfenstein 3D?
Yeah, I mean,
Doom?
yeah, and Doom, exactly. Yeah, just kind of all the staples. But then you have your 5 right there. So you need, I think you need to make 5 per genre, maybe.
But
Yeah.
you could also pick a genre and say maybe this is the most important genre or something,
Right.
and like you can like learn. But that's really tough. I was thinking about it the exact same way for platformers and thinking like how interesting it would be to say, this is the first bad feeling platformer. This is Super Mario Brothers, which feels really good. What is that like when it transitioned to 3D? But then I was like, these are all just Mario Brothers games.
Yeah.
Well-
so then it just really limited.
So like
But there's
the scope
definitely a
of things I
through
was
line
talking
from
about.
like, Pitfall to like, Mario 1 and then, I don't know, Super Mario 64. Like it gets a little bit fuzzier from there. But yeah, that's really fun.
But it's fun to talk about like movement just alone, right?
Yeah.
Like what did it feel like the first time you're running and jumping and feeling good in a game? Like that's something that's straight out of like human consciousness and dreams that we have. Like when Mario would first run and then can fly, like that's a dream I've had like my whole life, and people have had those exact same dreams. And I think that's like really interesting to like find a little bit of human experience in that. But like, if you have to pick out 5 games ever,
What about
again, they can't all
5
be Mario.
franchises? Because I feel like Zelda, GTA, those are things that would come to your mind immediately.
Yeah, there are some standalone games like Tetris though, which I could say like,
Yeah.
oh, that would be instantly on my list.
That's a franchise.
It's totally a franchise thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So Tetris.
Which
GTA.
Super Mario Brothers would you include, 1 or 3?
Well,
That's why you pick franchises. You have them all.
at what point do we go around and just say the 5 games?
Well, I don't-
Shamefully.
This is our show. We can answer this question however we want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we're not answering the question.
Yeah.
Well, like I said,
Let's move on.
I don't think we can answer the question. I just
Yeah,
think
it's a
that's
hard one.
interesting. Like, do you go back to Pong? Like, should Pong be included?
It might be like a personal top
just
5.
like-
I think to go back to what you were saying a second ago, I think Mario 3 is better, but I think in video game canon,
Well, more
1
people
is probably
played
a
1.
little bit more essential, right?
Yeah.
Well, and who's your audience? I was thinking my audience would be like my parents, and it's like they haven't played any games ever, so I would really like them to try Pong because it's 2-player,
So
and it teaches you like
Wii tennis,
play with each other.
Wii bowling.
exactly.
That's what, well, Wii Sports, right?
Yeah.
That has 5
I was just
games
going to
in
go
it.
through all the
So
sports.
let's see. So it's
exactly.
Wii Sports Resort, We Play, and Wii Music.
Wii Fitness? Is
and then
that-
we don't even need a 5th game. We
Wii
did it.
Fitness.
and,
We did it.
and then you
Get
have
out.
You have to think. You have to think about more recent stuff. Hey, now, come on. It's not time for that. Stop it. You have to think about more recent phenomenons like Minecraft and Pokemon Go. And
Yeah, does Fortnite make it on that
Fortnite.
list?
We said we weren't allowed to talk about Pokemon Go anymore.
I did not see
Harry
not
Potter
allowed.
woo.
I don't think Harry Potter woo is going to be.
Hey,
5 is not. 5's not
it's
enough.
not.
What's
Yeah,
that?
five is definitely not.
5's
That's
not
what I
enough
was gonna say.
because you got to have Tetris on there. But
Yeah.
then you probably got to have Minecraft on there. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Also, narrative games, like I would put The Last of Us on mine because it kind of morphs in Uncharted.
is like-
Because you need like, I also
What's
thought about
the
by
story game,
studios. Yeah, but I also thought about by studios. Like there are really reputable studios that I would need to have on that list, and Naughty Dog is one of them. So Last of Us feels like a good Uncharted trajectory where they really nailed the story and really nailed some of that mechanic and made the stealth super, super hard, which I love.
I mean, this is the problem with video games is that they're so broad. Like a movie, even though there's there are like art house movies that's like 14 hours long. Like generally, like it's commonly understood that a movie is something that it's a medium that is this long and this is how it's formatted and this is how it's shot. But a game can be everything from Uncharted to 2048 or Candy Crush, and they both are lumped into this video game category. So it's a lot more broad as an art form. I don't know. It's too hard.
Yeah, you have genres, you have decades or generations. There are lots of things to consider.
Sam, would Breath of the Wild be on it?
Do you even have to ask?
I'm not allowed to talk about that. So, yeah, it would for sure for a certain audience. I think it's also weird to tell people what they should be playing. Like you should obviously be playing games for different reasons than people
Sure.
telling you that you should play them. But the reason I'm saying that is because we've all mentioned a game here that I'm sure one of us hasn't played. Like I've definitely not played a game that's mentioned here. I think that's really interesting.
What game?
I've never played Minecraft.
I can't remember if I've played Minecraft or just watched a lot of people play Minecraft.
I don't
That counts to a
think
degree.
You've played Fortnite either.
I have played Fortnite.
Really?
Yeah, but only in the office.
Okay. Interesting.
As like everybody putting it in my
separate
hand and
life.
saying like a joke.
I
Yeah.
played about 10 rounds of Fortnite and died immediately. Like it was like, running around and I found a gun and then I just got shot and killed and then my round was over.
Yep.
And I did that about 8 or 10 times and then I uninstalled Fortnite.
I think I played all the ones you guys mentioned.
Yeah.
Just not
Ah, look at you.
Bloodstained.
Look at you.
If it's on your list.
Yeah. No,
Mario
Bloodstained's
3?
not on my list.
Definitely.
Well, it's an interesting question, Ricky, but it's too hard. Your question is just too hard. We have to move on.
You've confounded us.
This is a GameScoop fan from China. I'm going to take a crack at his name. Shua is my guess, and if I butchered your name, I deeply apologize. He says, I just read that Yakuza Kenzen, a Yakuza game set in feudal Japan, might begin a remaster or Kiwami version. What are the Omega Cop's thoughts on remasters? Remasters like the Yakuza series, with much better graphics, slightly improved or same mechanics, or remakes like Resident Evil 2?
I mean, when you say Resident Evil 2, I just got to lean in that direction automatically.
It's a
no
good
kidding.
question though.
The remake takes so much more work.
It's like a new game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
I would say more often it depends on the game and what you're trying to get out of the experience of probably replaying it. And I would say for the most part remake, because I would want a modern experience. Like think about Shadow of the Colossus, how badly that probably needed to be like a fully remade.
Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus is somewhat
But it was a
in between
remaster,
a
right?
remaster versus a remake.
Yeah, I suppose it was an in-between thing. I actually never played it. I just heard lots of complaints and decided to stay away. But like they didn't change the fixed camera, as far as I remember.
No, it always had a rotating camera,
This is
but
Yeah.
it hitches a little bit. That I love that game. That the second Shadow of the Colossus is great, but that is right in the middle. I normally like all about retro games and like really sorry, I should say classic games. That's a misnomer that I want to correct.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah, it's fair.
But I do like old games a lot, and I do like it when you can play them on new systems. But I love when they're completely remade, especially when the original creators are involved, or there's like, even if it's a completely new take on it, like Final Fantasy VII, like that's really fascinating to me, and I think it's really
Well, Matt Purslow of IGN.com says it's a reinvention. I think it's just a remake.
yep.
it's so
Well, that's a
different.
new
I don't know
term.
that it's got I don't know that it is a remake. I haven't read Matt's thing, but based off that thesis statement, I think maybe I agree with him.
Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting case where now it's unclear what we're getting and how long it's going to take to get the whole game. So a lot of fans were like, I would rather you have just remastered it.
To call that game a remake is like, well, the way you play the game is completely different.
Yeah.
It's not even a turn-based RPG anymore. So it's like, I don't know, it's a new thing.
Yeah,
That's
he
what
said-
Resident Evil 2 was.
That's true. I think generally, to get back to the question, I think I prefer remasters because we always talk about how like it comes back and it's up-res and it's running at a better frame rate, and then it finally looks the way that we remembered it in our memory. Whereas if you actually go back and play in 64 games, they're very fuzzy, and like the frame rate is 12 frames per second.
But it doesn't play as you remember it because we've gotten spoiled by modern
you want,
mechanics.
like with the example of Shadow of the Colossus, like you run into an example where like, okay, we're going to fix this half of the problems, but these half, we're not going to fix because some people sort of want the game to still feel that way and play that way. Like Master Chief Collection's in this weird boat where like, what are they choosing to fix and not fix? And, they're going to give people modern options. Like you can change your field of view, but then that kind of breaks Halo. And it's like, where's the line on that stuff? It's really complicated.
Justin, I think you've pointed out on the show before that Super Mario All-Stars was probably the first great remake on Super Nintendo.
It did change the physics and mechanics in some way. So yeah, I mean it's the greatest value in gaming on a single cart of all time, in my opinion. But like that Mario 1 is a different Mario 1, right? Like he runs and jumps differently.
There were remakes before that, which are really interesting. Like Rygar was just an arcade game that was like total trash, and then they made it into a Zelda-like on
But I
NES.
don't know if that's not the same as a remake.
But
I
that's
think
the
they're
Final
it's just
Fantasy
a
VII
different,
thing.
It's just a different take on the game. Yeah, you're right.
If it's a remaster of something recent, like actually with The Last of Us, they did the they did the remaster
For PS4.
and it included so it's just a up-res for new consoles, and then just the DLC too included, so it just was a better deal.
It's really
Good.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, when games were first becoming 3D, a lot of games took what you knew from 2D and kind of made it into 3D, and you kind of see this world. Like Metroid Prime is a really good example of that. You get to see the same old creatures and stuff like that, but they're in a really cool hyper real world. I like the interpretation of an old thing in new technology, and so that's why I really like Resident Evil 2, for example. It's everything in that game is kind of a reference to something else that was lower res and hard to play now, but it's just, I love seeing the lens that that's being looked at it and seeing it upgraded. I think that's really cool. I like the connection to the old thing too.
Bionic Commando Rearmed was a very cool remake.
What a game.
That's a really good one.
Mm-hmm. And the name is funny because it's about not having an arm.
I don't think I ever got that pun before just now.
And then they mess it up with Rearmed 2 because they let you jump.
Well, and just Planet Commando.
Wait, you can jump in Rearmed too?
Yep.
Oh,
I know.
It's not because your legs have been replaced with bionic legs.
No.
That you know of.
Relegged. See, that would have fixed it.
All right, this one's for Sam. This
Can I just say you're really good at reading copy?
Thank you.
Really good.
Well,
that's a skill.
But I've read
I'm
that.
not
like-
joking either.
I've read
That's
that
amazing.
50 times now.
Yeah.
This is Walker in Shoreline, Washington, and he says, I was recently touring a castle in Poland, and I came across this pinball machine.
Cool.
Here you go.
In a castle?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
According to the guide, it's over 100 years old,
Bagatelle.
Hope you find it interesting. So it's called, what's the name on there?
Urbu Ball.
Airbu Ball. I looked it up. I think it's a
You made that up.
It's a table from 1933, so I think he means it's almost 100 years
Yeah.
old. But it's a legit thing. I don't know what kind of castle this is that has drywall and electrical outlets, but
Yeah, it's a
Well,
castle you can
this
still
looks
live
like
in.
those
Yeah.
games that you shift around to get the
so there's no
little balls.
flippers, right? There's a launcher but no flippers.
Yeah, so
Early
you can
pinball
see-
did not have
look at the
flippers.
cabinet.
It was more like pachinko.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so the designs are farmers working in the fields. And
Yeah,
that's
the flippers didn't come
theme of the
around till
table.
later, and the only
Cool.
flippers they're not that much later though. The
Wait,
only
what do you do?
It's like
Launch the ball.
it's like pachinko.
yeah, try to get.
Oh.
in
So you
different
see those
holes.
two knobs?
Yeah.
I don't know what that knob is, but the orange knob or the little knob pushes
Yeah.
the ball up into the trough, and then the other one is just a spring, just like we have now. It's like a spring-loaded shooter lane.
Yeah, yeah.
Throw the ball up, and like the idea for these was, it doesn't work. I love the people on this and like doing chores, but what you would do with this is that if you were in a bar, it's more like skee ball, and you launch the ball and you get it up there, and then you would take your score down and you'd take it to the bar and you'd actually win something. You could
awesome.
win like a beer, or you could win, like a potato.
That's where if you're
Just a
in Poland-
full meal, you know.
some gruel. That's where the mistaken idea that pinball is gambling. Gambling.
Well, and that
devices
was
comes from.
gambling.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there was no skill involved. Like
Yeah.
it was just it was a pachinko. It was a game of chance.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this looks really neat. And then I think like right after this, I don't think this is electronic, right? It's just mechanical.
Well, there's like a very modern looking coin mechanism in there, so I don't know.
They must have added that.
Yeah, maybe.
yeah, maybe that's added. Yeah, I don't know. Coin mechs have to be electronic
Yeah, but
now, but that's only because they start a computer. I wonder. I'll have to look into that.
Have you ever played a
This
table
is really fascinating.
that's like anywhere near that old from like the 30s?
Yeah, so if you
But-
go to the Pacific Pinball Museum in Alameda, California, right here in the Bay Area, you can play games that old, and they're amazing.
I think the oldest one I've played is Central.
Amazingly boring.
yeah, well, they're very slow and boring. You played an old one called Central Park.
Yeah, from what I don't know, mid 50s ish. I don't know.
You can't tell. Like, very few things changed from like 1940 to 1960.
Well, Damon
yeah.
played that weird baseball one.
Yeah, that one was actually pretty fun. I don't know when
It's
it's
from
from.
the 90s,
Like when?
Yeah.
When did they move into fast pinball?
1989.
It's in the 80s.
I would say Adam's Family era 1991 stuff is the stuff with like the DMD display, like the
Yeah.
graphics.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything after 1990, 1991 is going to have that, and everything's going to be fast. But there's fast games in this era of 1980s that you've all played too, which are like Taxi and Diner and stuff like that.
Cool. All right, this is William Hartfield from Idaho Falls. It says, first time writing in, I've been listening to you guys for almost a year. Loved every episode. I have a question. Recently, my birthday came up, and I was wanting to spend a little bit of money for a new game on the Switch. I've been looking towards Mario Odyssey or Monster Hunter World. I know that both of these games are amazing, just not sure which to get. I am also open to other suggestions. Already played Breath of the Wild, even Smash Ultimate. So any suggestions are well appreciated. Thank you for bringing such amazing content every week that helps me get through those long, boring days at work. So yes, William, unfortunately, Monster Hunter World is not on Switch. It's Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. That's on there, which is also supposed to be good. Haven't played that one, but it's just
So
Not
Mario
World.
Odyssey then it is?
I mean,
it's
I
gotta
think
be.
you
Out
gotta
of the
play it.
choices of one?
But even like that's what if you haven't played Odyssey, I would absolutely recommend
100%.
you play Odyssey.
Do you think there's enough cool indie games that you could get to add up to something as good as Mario?
Yeah,
at this
probably.
point?
Honestly, recently I've been playing My Friend Pedro and Katana Zero, and like they're
Love.
both great. So
I love Katana Zero,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to playing my friend Pedro.
it's so good.
Mario Odyssey is the second best game on that console. So yeah, buy it, play it. But Sam, you bring up an interesting point. Like if the Switch is your primary gaming platform, and you're not on Steam, like there is, you can get Stardew Valley and a handful of other $10 or $15 games that will be amazing. But man, Mario Odyssey is such a good value. That
Yeah.
game seems to never end.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like you could play that for 6 months.
And it is
No
delightful
problem.
the whole way through.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like 5 different games in one.
Remember your story about how you played, like, what was it, Mario 64, like all semester in college?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But then we got Mario Odyssey and we were all done with it in a week.
But that was more like Resident Evil 2, the remake. I
Oh, that's
played
what-
that
that's
for,
what it was, the example.
months and months in college.
I wish I could go back.
beat it in 8 hours. like what?
I wish I could observe myself in my youth playing games, because these games used to seem endless. Like Mario 64, I think I'm the same as you. I think I played it a whole summer, but it's like that game's not actually that big. Like you can blast through it in 5 days. So I'm like, what was I doing?
I used to like pitch my parents on getting me Final Fantasy games because they were so big.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'll be playing it all year. And it was true.
Yeah.
I didn't need another game. Like the first time I played like one of those later Final Fantasy games, like 4 or 6 or something.
I think I
it
spent
was
a
like,
lot more.
Probably I played it for a year, you know?
One of those later Final Fantasy.
I know.
I think my game time now is a lot more like goal oriented and specific. Like I am actively trying to like get through it, whereas before in Mario 64, like I was content to just F around, right? Like I seem to remember spending a lot of time just like going down the slide for no purpose other than just the fun of it and just, you know, running around the worlds.
Yeah, as a kid, I would like reload saves because I hadn't done it perfectly, and you had time to do those kinds of things back then.
Oof, I still do that. With Fallout especially.
But that's probably not that different than like, you know, Fortnite and games like that don't appeal to me hugely, but just as like a thing to just mess around in and treating video games that way instead of it being, you know, a goal-oriented approach, like maybe there's something to that.
Also, you'd have a friend over and you'd both like play the game and trade off on levels and like stuff like that. And that was always like a really fun social thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I loaned Super Mario 64 to my friend for a weekend, and then he sent it back, and on his save file D, he had 120 stars on the 4th save file. And I'm like, what? Like, how did you do that? And he's like, yeah, man, like I just got every star. And then like months later, he told me that he just copied my save.
Ah, cheater.
It's pretty good.
It's a good trick.
Classic. This is Diego. He says, hey, Omega Cops, greetings from Guatemala. I like that we have an international fan.
Yeah, no
it's
kidding.
great.
I'm a big fan. You are so cool and fun. Keep up the good work.
Aw.
I really want to get my girlfriend into gaming. I was thinking of buying her a Nintendo Switch, but I didn't want to spend so much on a console for her to just abandon it in a couple of weeks. That's when I decided that maybe a 2DS was a cheap and cool alternative that if she doesn't love, at least I wouldn't have spent a lot of money on. Ha ha ha. My question is, which 2DS games would you recommend for someone who barely plays any video games so they can enjoy and have fun? No Zelda recommendations. She doesn't like those games. Ha ha ha.
Well, Diego, you
I'm out.
You could also buy yourself the Nintendo Switch. And
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, well, maybe he already has one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
There's so many cool co-op games. to,
Exactly.
like,
Yeah, it's
start
built
with.
for like a
true.
family household.
Get
kind of
snipper
experience.
clips.
But what
Yeah.
about 2DS games that would be good for a casual gamer who doesn't play mini games? Would it be Animal Crossing New Leaf?
That's a really good
Yeah,
suggestion.
actually, yeah.
That's an amazing game.
Nailed it.
But you have to play with people to really get fulfillment out of it.
That's true.
I think you could play by
think
yourself.
so.
I played it mostly
I mean, you
solo.
absolutely can play it by yourself, but there's no better experience than sitting on the
Yeah.
bench by the beach.
That
with
was
a friend.
cute.
And
You
enjoying
can do that
some-
online in that game, right? So you could
yes.
you could
Yeah.
join, you know, a Animal Crossing community.
You
and
can
get
hunt
that stuff.
butterflies together.
You get your little villager friends, though. Your fake friends.
Yeah.
What was the what was the Mario Kart on
Mario Kart 7.
7? 7's
I mean,
really
that's
good.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone
I feel
loves Mario Kart.
Mario Kart is universally loved, even by people who don't play games. That's a good pick.
New Super Mario Brothers 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's on. They're on.
Or the those are DS game. The 2 is on 3DS, right? But what about the Mario Land? What are they called?
3D Land.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm way back in DS land, aren't
yeah.
I?
Super Mario 3D Land. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna-
I sort of disagree with the premise though. Like way back in high school, I had a girlfriend that didn't play games, and I was trying to like expose her to different games. I'm like, play Mario, play this, and then the game she ended up liking was just Mortal Kombat because she thought it was funny and cool to punch and kick and hit people. So it's like, it's a little bit, you're falling into a little bit of a trap to like
it's also-
make assumptions about like what someone's going to be into.
I would also ask, like, has she expressed any interest in playing games? Mm-hmm. If you already have a console yourself, maybe like try playing some co-op games that you already own with her to see if she's
Mario Party Island Tour.
in there. Mario, is that a good one?
I'm not
for you?
Googling
That's
right
the-
now.
that's
Luigi's
the-
Mansion.
But you are Googling
What?
right now.
You
What
see
term?
nothing.
What term did you? What?
I literally just put 2DS games because I wanted a
Okay.
refresher on what was on
I
it.
thought you were doing like 2DS games for noobs.
Yeah.
Hey, Pikmin. No. I'm just
There's
using Dodge.
Pokemon games on there too.
I really like that
Okay.
suggestion, though. I mean, the point. I
Paper
think
Mario. Sorry, I'm
That's
just
a good one.
jumping in with
the point of games, can be to bring people together in a room and play games, and like maybe that's a better idea than getting like a system that's kind of focused on single player.
Yeah.
games.
Farming Simulator 18.
There you go.
Obviously.
That's the one.
What about
And then
19?
Nintendogs.
Wait for 19.
Nintendogs and Nintendcats.
Oh wait, Farming Simulator 18 is a new 3DS game.
No, I guess you can play it on
I mean, it would have
2DS.
come out in 2017. Remember that.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right.
To get the new
my
roster,
Googling
the new
for you.
farming roster update.
That brings us to video game 20 questions.
Oh, here we go.
So good. Our suggestion this week comes from Scotty from Fort Worth, Texas.
It's still pretty loud.
I'm pretty down.
I know.
Is this going to play the whole time?
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna
Make
kick
it.
in. It's gonna kick into a real jam. I mean, let's
Let's
give it a
jam.
second.
All right.
So good.
It's the second best game of all time.
Probably. Scotty from Fort Worth, Texas says, I've been listening for a week now. New listener for life. I've been going through every episode every day I'm at work, and I love every second of it. My favorite segment is Video Game 20 Questions. And he gave us our suggestion.
And this is the last one ever.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
That's not true. Let the questioning begin.
Damon, do you think do you get emails from people frequently that like discover the show and then go all the way back?
I hear that a
like,
lot.
That's one of our questions?
That does not
Because
count.
remember, people use podcasts to
Yeah.
fill time.
Yeah.
And if they discover a new podcast they like and they're like, there's over 500 episodes, I can fill 500 hours of my boring job.
Okay,
My God,
let me
that's
point out that
daunting.
Damon doesn't listen to podcasts. And so his conception of what podcasts are for from someone who's on a very popular podcast is very skewed.
You don't think that's true?
No.
That's exactly
500
what,
hours to fill my awful life. What,
That's
what an
exactly
honor.
what they do.
But I went back. Like,
500 is a lot, to be
when
fair.
I find a show, I go back.
Yeah. Of course, you.
But I wonder.
Only
So
a set amount is available.
news-based show?
I would
But that's
probably,
what I mean.
Yeah. I would probably pick the things that I thought were more interesting by headlines.
That's my question is like, what entertainment are people getting? If you're listening to this and you went through this process, please write in because I'm curious about. Even though we do talk about like classic games and stuff, like we're still discussing the news of the day. So is it interesting to go back and listen to a scoop from 2013?
Yeah, you know how many times we do predictions?
I hear
I'm
about
sure
that
people
from
love to prove us wrong.
all the time.
We
and
do
I have
hear
to
from those
imagine.
sometimes.
I have to imagine they like our personalities. They like the inside jokes. They like the banter, and then they like to see whether our predictions were like right at the time.
It's all you, Damon.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Look, I just want to point out as a disclaimer, it is unsafe to listen to me that much. Just an hour a week is
I
all
thought
we
you were going to
intend.
say in the car.
No.
Surgeon General's warning: do not operate heavy machinery.
While listening to Sam Claiborne.
I'm just covering for myself here. That's unsafe.
Okay, let the questioning begin.
Okay. Is this game played? Does this game have 3D graphics?
Yes.
Is this a current gen game?
No.
So older.
Is this game from after the year 2000?
Yes.
So
Okay.
what?
Is it first person perspective?
Not
one of
not
these.
primarily. There may be like a way to toggle first person, but that's not primarily.
Is this a
Wait, there may be a way to talk. This is not another
That was a good
question.
clue right there.
Yeah. Well, because sometimes there are levels, like you might be in a ship for a level.
Is this
but
a-
that's not toggling.
Is this a game where you're shooting swords or shooting? Excuse me. I was trying to get between.
Very specific
sounds
thing
like
you
a
have in
cool
mind here.
Is there a game where you shoot swords?
Yeah,
Probably.
devil daggers.
Is it double?
No.
Probably Borderlands. You can do that.
I'm sorry, I flubbed the question. I was trying to get at whether it's
No, you don't get to answer. ask the
swords
question.
or guns. Is this a game where you're shooting guns?
Oh no.
God, gotta get this away from Sam. I think like just a guard rail here. Is this a game where you shoot guns? Yes. That's 5 questions.
What fires
Yep.
the guns?
Does this game have a cover system?
No.
That's a specific question.
Well, it's a third-person gun shooting game.
Does
I
this
was thinking
game?
Uncharted and Gears of
Wait, he
War.
said mostly not first person, but you could toggle to first person?
I don't know if you can, but it's
Not first person.
anybody who's thinking of this game.
Okay.
Is
The game I was picturing when I asked about the cover system was Uncharted or Gears,
Okay.
and it eliminates those because it does not have a cover system.
Is this an RPG?
No.
Did this game come out on a Nintendo platform?
Yes.
Is it exclusive?
It is not exclusive.
Oh my God. We only have how many questions left?
You have 11 questions left.
It's after 2000, but not this gen.
Is this a GameCube game?
It appeared on GameCube.
Ah, that's really good.
That's 10.
So it was a multi-platform
non-exclusive,
GameCube
yeah.
era game.
Yeah.
That's a lifesaver. Was
Third
this game
person.
developed in America?
Yes.
Does it have sequels?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good question.
A game with sequels on GameCube. It was like Time Splitters or something.
Yeah, something like that. Although that's exclusively first person.
First person.
Do you hear the protagonist?
I don't know.
Oh man, I'm so
3D.
confused now.
Did Max Payne appear on on GameCube?
On GameCube.
I don't think so. I think it was like Xbox first, right?
Can you play as a woman?
No.
That was also not developed in America, I guess.
Max Payne was at Europe.
Yeah. Right? Maybe not. What is that?
I think we need genre or more
Yeah.
stuff about who made the game,
Well, we know it's a shooty. Well, we know you do.
We know you can shoot.
and it's not in first person.
Yeah, so it's not a shooty.
Could be Piano 3, although that was developed in Japan by Capcom,
Yeah, that.
and that was. It could be Resident Evil, although okay, sorry, I'm stuck. I'm stuck on Capcom now. Could not be Resident Evil.
Is there multiplayer?
Yes.
GameCube? Split screen? Probably. Or maybe. Is this? Do we ask about 3D graphics?
Yeah,
It is 3D.
it is 3D.
3D. Man.
Would this game? Would most people call this game like a shooter? Is this a shooter? Is that the game genre?
Even though you do shoot, it probably would not. No, you would not call it a shooter.
Got
That's
it.
15.
It's really interesting.
It could be an open world. Whoa!
Good. There's enough tension, Damon.
So it could be an open world game. GTA never appeared on GameCube, but some of the other ones probably did. Driver probably did.
And you asked about RPG. Would Beyond
Yeah.
Good and Evil be an RPG?
Considered an RPG.
Because that would be.
Because there are games that have RPG elements that aren't RPG games.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
But
very
that I think checks all the boxes except you can play as a woman in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, inherently.
Exclusively, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that was made in America.
What? Yeah, that's a good point. Ubisoft games. I mean, man, the American thing is weird, huh?
I mean, it's probably an EA game, EA or Activision.
Are there Calls of Duty from that era?
No, I don't think they were on the GameCube, were they?
Or one of the Battlefield games, like
Yeah.
those
No,
weird-
that's
weird
first person.
spin-offs? Yeah, those are all first person. That's a
Yeah.
good point. And it's not a shooter.
I'd like to know, it'd be helpful for me to know, like, theme. Not
Like sci-fi?
Yeah.
fantasy?
Nothing would be helpful to me at this point.
Is this game like set in a sci-fi setting?
No.
Whoa, so realistic shooties.
Well,
Well, he didn't
yeah,
say
I mean,
that.
but it's
I was
not a
going to say
shooter.
we could ask, are there things,
be like
are there
Bloodstained.
enemies other than humans, for
It could be
instance?
like it could be like a game that's mostly like an adventure game, where maybe you shoot a gun once in a while.
And
like-
13
Right.
is first person, right? We always bring that one up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was first person.
It could be a platformer.
Third person
with some shooty.
platformer.
Yeah.
Right.
Should I ask?
Well,
Should we confirm it?
sure.
Is it a
I don't
platformer?
is it a platformer? No.
God damn it.
Man.
Stop saying no.
I don't know if we should use the hack yet.
What's
mean,
the hack?
We only have 3 questions left, so I think we're fine.
We ask if we've mentioned the game yet.
Oh, yeah, that one.
It's such.
I bet we haven't.
I bet we
It's
have.
Have we mentioned the game yet?
the question is it's like it could either energize you for the last couple
Or
questions or completely defeat
demoralize you. Yeah.
Have
we
you
always, but
It's
we
going to be
usually-
demoralized.
Yeah.
have you mentioned the game yet? No.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Always,
Freaking Damon in his nose.
always such a punch.
just-
in the
Look at
gut.
this one. Let me enter my mind palace. Because if you think of the GameCube box art, there's just not that much that was on it. So
But also,
like-
it's not like Nintendo exclusive, so
Damn.
we got to think outside the box,
yes,
the literal
Damon,
box.
what do you have to say?
I just think you're leaning on GameCube too much.
That's what I'm saying.
No, we all understand. It's
I
a
think outside the
multi-platform
box.
game and isn't primarily associated with the GameCube.
Yeah, but it's just
I
about
owned a
mental
GameCube.
exercise.
Yeah, for so much longer than I had any other system.
I'm with Sam on this because like multi-platform stuff, especially in the U.S., stopped coming to GameCube like fairly early on. Like I enjoy that hint.
I think Damon might be wrong that it's on GameCube.
That would be great.
I'm not wrong.
That's why he's trying to backtrack it now.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
guys are too focused on that answer.
What if it's like a weird arcadey game where they're like arcade
Yeah.
stuff?
Well, that would be your territory.
Okay.
Could be a high score game. Like there's like some Robotron, you know, like something like that. They made that 3D Robotron, but that was on N64. But something like that.
Or driving? Can you shoot? Did anything preclude us
Yeah.
from going that way?
Like shooty drivey games. Like there was that one. It wasn't this gen, but there was like Split Second. You know, that was,
Twisted Metal stuff.
yeah, like Twisted Metal type games.
Man, we're not getting this one.
Did
are
any
we?
of David Cage's games come out on Because they're a third person with some shooty. No, wait.
Indigo Prophecy.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, that's where That's where
I
my
played
head was
that on
at too. Was like
PlayStation.
something that's like mostly an adventure game.
It's interesting that it's not sci-fi. Too.
But not necessarily realism.
Yeah.
Sci-Fi 2, the sequel to Sci-Fi.
I don't know where to go, Damon.
Yeah.
I know. We got us, I think, this time.
You have
Should
a
we ask
question
about
and a guess.
realistic graphics, or like if it was developed by EA or something like that?
I think our long shot is to try to get the developer. We
Yeah.
know it's a United States developer.
Do it. This one's on you.
I mean, okay.
But I can't name an EA game from that era.
That's
that
a good
I care about.
Yeah.
Or is it helpful to know if they're still in business?
Yeah.
Is the developer still in business?
No.
Oh, that's really good.
We still got it.
Okay, so hold on.
Exactly.
Since you only have the guess left, I will say that right before that last question, you were wondering aloud a couple things that would have gotten you very close.
What was he
Say that.
wondering aloud?
Whether
What
it
were
was we talked about it being an arcadey game,
Right.
And then we talked about it maybe being an adventure-ish game.
But he was speaking specifically to Sam.
That's a good point. Sam said arcadey game.
And then after that, we talked about, yeah, I don't know, man.
But the developer not being in business, I mean, if we had two more questions, I think we would get there. But like that eliminates, everything from Activision and EA and Ubisoft.
Should I reveal the game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Released in 2001, PS2 first, then came to GameCube and Xbox. Developed by Paradigm Studios, which is no longer around. Published by Midway,
Yeah, I was feeling the midway.
and is a remake of a classic arcade
is it
game.
Defender?
No, it is Spy Hunter
Spy Hunter.
Oh,
I didn't know there was a
dude.
Spy Hunter from that era.
Didn't they also make a movie?
with Vin Diesel, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. And then they made a sequel to
gonna
that
be the next
on
one.
on the same console, same
Our next
generation of
rotation of
consoles.
questions.
Yeah, what do you think the Spy Hunter for PlayStation 2 is like?
Well, here's a synopsis of the plot. Alex Sex, CTS, get your mind out of the gutter. An F-15 pilot who was trained by the FBI tries to take down Nostra, an Israeli-based international company that produces food products, biochemicals, genetics, e-commerce, and children's software. Damon Curry, a man who believes himself to be the figure mentioned in several religions, is the founder and leader. To deal with him, the International Espionage Services create a team called Spy Hunter. Curry has reason to believe that it is the same person who stopped him in 1983, so the same villain.
It's a canonical sequel.
Curry's plan is to use 4 EMP weapons mounted on satellites dubbed the Four Horsemen to stop all electricity in the world, then plans to rule. Originally, Alec does light missions, mostly destruction of Nostra property. Nostra's schemes become more dangerous, and Alec finds himself returning to most of the previous Nostra bases for more intense missions. Later, he finds the headquarters where the Four Horsemen are based in Petra. Are you bored? After a hard-fought battle, the Four Horsemen are defused and explode.
I just don't understand why you want to rule over a planet that has no electricity.
Yeah.
I think this is
Sounds
the first time you've ever chose
terrible.
a 20 questions game that nobody here has ever heard of.
You've never heard of Spy Hunter?
I've heard of Spy Hunter from 1983, and I would have gotten it.
I think it's really fascinating that
Let's do
villain,
this again for Spy Hunter from 19. I'll get it.
He called his if you're calling your satellites the Four Horsemen,
Yeah.
like how does it not dawn on you that you're the
Did
bad
you know that
guy?
there was a Spy Hunter from 2001?
I mean, vaguely. I never played
Damn it, Justin.
I would not
It was
have
riding
gotten
on
it.
you.
I feel bad if you name the game and I'm like, oh, darn it. I was right there, but this one I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
fine.
I feel happy.
You want someone
Did you know
else-
about Spy Hunter from 2001?
No, hell no.
Yeah, see, I got a hell no, too.
I never played it, but I am aware of it. I knew that they remade a Spy Hunter.
Did you review it?
No, I was 2001. I was
Reviewing games at IGN.
no, I was not. I was not. That is all the scoops that we have for you this week. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Sam. My name is Damon. This is IGN GameScoop, and we're out.
Thank you, Damon.